Like we're live. Let's turn this down. I don't know if I'm gonna keep this one on, but it's see, a big compilation. I like their stuff because it gets me in the mood to do stuff, but maybe we need to change to lo-fi because it's hard to talk over. Let's see. Lo-fi is always good. As always, let me know how volumes are on things. I'm gonna push the notification that we're streaming, and then we'll start off. Mostly animation stuff today. Okay. And we're connected. Alright. Let's go. So, what do we have? We've got our animations fixed, which is very nice. We've got our boy here. Let me be a little smaller, just to be out of his way. There we go. So we've got all the animations we put in last time, and I also made sure that the gun rotation is proper. It'll be super hard to see from where you're standing. Oh, let me... Oops. Probably should have done that earlier. All the gun rotations are correct now, so we don't have any problems with the gun flying off in these animations. Today, I want to do a bunch of cleanup, and I also want to finish off the animations. You notice here we have our forward run and our backwards run. Actually, our backwards run isn't playing quite correctly, but we would theoretically need backwards run animations for all of our animations, and I don't know if we'll do that. Since it works, but it's kind of difficult to go back and do all of them, or just lengthy and you can't really see it too much. Just like this animation here, slightly different animation from the normal run animation. It's stuff like that where it's like, I think we can hold off until we actually need those things. Let's see. Just a little. Okay, so what do we want to start on first? We've got our animations here, and the gun sprite rotation wasn't as bad as I thought it would be, because you can easily measure it based off of the distance from the bottom and the distance from the middle. We can get the gun position really easily. Hey Dade, thanks for showing up. How's it going with you? I think we'll do a little bit of code just to fix some of these easy things that are broken. This break block just doesn't have the code we want it to. Just eating and resting. Yeah, that sounds like a good time. Talked with Ash a little bit. He got home not too long ago, but oh, holy hell, is he tired? Nice, nice. We should get on sometime, not now, but you know, sometime and do a drawing stream. That'd be a lot of fun. Let's see. So this is world, but it's also breakable. Yeah. And our bullet code is... Oh, I hate this. This is my worst pet peeve. The layer bits aren't equal to the number on here. So it's 4, but it's actually bit 3. I don't know how they got away with doing that. Breakable is 8. What is this weird code? Isn't this like totally nonsensical? The tabs are weird. It's not disabled and it has default body collision. The body is breakable. Yeah, what are these tabs? It should have been like this, right? Because it's checking if it's breakable and if it's world. Oh no, no, that is supposed to be like that. It's a very strange thing, actually. But if it's breakable, then it will break. And then if it's also a world, it will fizzle. Which, you know, we should just do this, right? Less redundancy. This way it will run through this if it's breakable, and it will run through this if it's world. Don't have to worry about the rest of it. But this method isn't getting called, so let's print something to see. Because it sure breaks the grass correctly, but the grass isn't world. We can move right through it. These blocks are world. That's pretty loud, isn't it? So it's fizzling, but is it doing the code? Whoa, okay. No, this is just the settings. It's not even hitting the breakable part, it's just hitting the world part, which is weird. Let's see. So either A, it's not breakable, or B, it's never entering it. Is it a body or is it a area? Because I think we're already trying to print something on it if it's an area, right? Yeah, we are. We're printing a slightly different string if it's an area. So that doesn't have the same problem as these break blocks, which need to be standable as world and also as a body. These extend from prop, which extends from area 2D, doesn't it? 1 second. Prop .gd extends node 2D, which is different. It is a body then. It's not an area. What if we said don't fizzle from world ever? Will it enter the body now? There'd be nothing else preventing it. And look at that. It still fizzles even though we told it not to. So something else is being redundant here. We know what that particle is, right? It's a ricochet, right? Let's see if we can go to the effect and open that up. Let's see. Here's ricochet. We can search for it in all code. Because whatever is causing that to happen is spawning a ricochet, right? The bullet is spawning a ricochet. That is interesting. Okay. So, did we just replace something? Whatever. Where else is it calling fizzle from world? Calling it from those two? And that's it. It should never be fizzling from world. Unless that's not a ricochet and that's the other kind. Let's get rid of fizzle just to check. Ah, here's where it. On collision detector body entered. This is on the, oh god. What a mess. This is on bullet revolver. This is totally pointless because it's redundant. This is the bullet that comes from the revolver, and this is the bullet in general. Since all bullets... Oh, that's a good point. Do all bullets need to fizzle? No. If they're like special bullets, they really don't. If they're grenades, they don't fizzle. And if they're something that creates an area that does damage, like the shotgun, they don't fizzle. So, let's create a... Because I would like to have it all in the bullet code, but let's create a variable for that, right? Something like fizzleable. Actually, we have some, don't we? Default area collision, default body collision. Those are very confusing. I don't know what they mean. It's not very descriptive. Oh, right. Default area collision. Okay. Yes, this is what is going on here. If it's not disabled and we use the default body collision, then we can fizzle. But the bullet revolver should never need to fizzle by itself, right? Let's see. Because that would just be redundant. It is a... or it does have default body collision. It should have, at least, right? These are set to true by default. So let's try this now. I will remove the prints, remind me to. once this is all done. Well, it's not it's not fizzling now, which actually nothing is fizzling now. This is interesting. Means that the bullet revolver doesn't have default body collision, or that this isn't working whatsoever. If it's not disabled and default body collision, which is true, this is on the collision detector body entered. This signal might not be connected to anything. Let's check. If the signal isn't connected to anything, then we just need to connect the signal up. This is the definition of spaghetti code, because it's like stuff that never got cleaned up when it needed to get cleaned up, right? And it never gets called. Even if we entered a... No, it does get called if we enter an area, but not if we enter a body. So let's connect that signal. And how is the signal connected? Okay, here we go. Viewport. No, that's a different connection. If we go into bullet revolver, right? Let's go into the scene of the bullet. Bullet revolver. There's a couple of different scenes. They all instance the same thing. Here's the first one, and then the second one, and then the third one. It's not the best solution because we just have to keep doing this. It really should be a little bit different, but I think this allows us more freedom with it. I can't remember why I did it. That's just my excuse. Anyways, we've got our bullet here. We've got collision detector, and it is connected to on collision detector area entered and body entered. So what should happen is here's why it's not doing anything. More freedom, but also more complexity. So I think this is a really weird problem. This is a problem with the because bullet revolver is a inherited script of bullet, right? When we call when we call the child script, right, we will always call everything in the parent script as well, right? So if the child script has physics process, we will also use the parent script's physics process. And the same thing goes for the ready. We'll basically get to use two script as one, right? But here's the problem. We're connecting to a signal, right? On both scripts. And it's already receiving the signal on the first script. And that's why the body isn't working and the area is. So how do we fix this? I mean, hold on a second, right? Yield, I'll hit Q free. This is already doing, okay, in this specific circumstance, we can just get rid of we can just get rid of all of this because it's already doing the same thing in bullet. But later on in the future, what if we wanted to use the signal? We would have to do something like pass another signal onto its parent, or call a function within itself, right? If we did, let's see, do func, and then we called the function there, we could do func do func here, and we would do a pass, and in the parent script we would do this. That way, if we were to run the game, it should. Well, I'm wrong. But that's kind of how we would get to pass on that signal, even though the signal is kind of being intercepted. We would just send another signal or send a call for a method. In this case, we can just get rid of him completely, since it's redundant. Nice! Okay. That's one bug down. Let's fixed. Let's see. What is he called? Fixed break block out breaking. And here we go. There's one down. Next time we wouldn't have any problems with this. Breaks from world, and breaks the block. Sweet. Let's try that with other guns just to be extra thorough. It probably won't work with this gun. I can't remember how it's coded. Oh, it does work. Sweet. So the on break is kind of cool because different guns have different break methods. Like, one idea was way back when, if you used like a flamethrower or something to break grass, it would give a different result as to if you did it with a gun. Chunky grenade launcher, maybe. Something interesting I'm noticing, I want to redo this explosion animation because that's just Cave Story's explosion animation but scaled up. I think I used AI to make it bigger. I don't know. It was way long ago. I guess it works for now because it shows the radius and that's all it needs to do. Our gun sprite isn't changing. If you notice when we change guns. That was working until a while ago, so let's see what I broke. Gun sprite has a function on it, right? Let's check to see when this gets called. Because I think it should have had a signal on it to call this, but it doesn't. This reads like how I write signals. Anyways. Oh yeah, there we go. We'll just search for on Juniper guns updated. And it's only here. So it's not it's not connected to anything. But Juniper does admit a gun's updated, so we can just connect this really quick to our gun sprite. Sweet. Now it's fixed. You notice a little bit of the problem I was talking about. Let's see, I wonder if I can make this super This might be actually something we can fix today, at least a little bit. So if you look here, right, this is just the stuff that pet peeve bugs me. Let's open file. So the gun is in front of everything, and this is because we compressed everything down to one layer, which is all good because we can just mask off the areas we don't want, like here, 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 right? Everything that the arm is in front of. But that also means that we can't get the stock anymore, right? It's hard to see in this image, but the stock goes from here to here, and we won't be able to draw that anymore. All our guns won't be able to have extended stocks because the arm won't be able to go over it. It's all one layer. We'll just have to mask off the hand. And that's like a minor problem. It like, if the sprite sheets look cleaner, which they do, this is so much cleaner, then it's worth, you know, getting rid of that. But in the meantime, right, there's another thing we need to do, and I think I'll show it off here, right? Actually, it does it pretty well, but on some animations it doesn't. So see how it's in front of the sprite now? Now it's behind the sprite. That's exactly what it should look like. When he's facing the left, the gun should be behind the sprite. On the right, it should be in front. But I noticed for some animations, like the jump and look up, it just wasn't working properly. Let's see. Like, here we go. So it follows the rule that we laid out before, but it's not doing it. It's not doing as we intended, right? Ideally, like, it should go in front of it on this sprite, but it's following our rules a little too literally, right? We might be able to fix this just by changing the gun sprite, like if the rocket launcher only goes like in front of him. But it's just like, we could do this better. We could totally do this better. It's like I wouldn't want to create a whole dictionary for telling us when to go left in front and when to go in back. But I would want a little more control over that, like if I were able to add exceptions, right? Then we would be able to get a little bit farther. As it stands now, that's not too important. Also, okay, here's the other problem. If you take a look at him, where'd his gun go? You can probably see it from there, but his gun is gone. Oh, it's back. That's because our gun, we're not actually we're changing its draw order. And it so happens to be that the draw order, that is -1, is the draw order of the back tile, and it chooses to draw that first. So we will have to change this in a different way or restructure our entire like draw order, which I don't feel like doing. If we go to, here we go, you can kind of see stuff here. Actually, you really can't. Let's see. How about we'll duplicate this just so I can show this off to you, right? So this right here, right? We've got our, close all this. We've got our sprite, we've got our gun sprite. And we, what a weird order this is. Let me... Okay. I'll fix this up, right? It's sort of easy to fix. Basically, when the gun sprite is behind the sprite, because it draws it in like reverse Photoshop way. So the lower it is here, the higher it will be drawn. So the gun sprite, or the other way around or something, I can't remember. Basically, all we would need to do is, if we fix this Z index, and the sprite Z index is 0 still. Oh, it's because the function here. We'll get rid of that. That's what's causing it to choose its layer right now. Here we go. Not like that. If we were to rearrange them, it should theoretically change the order. Oh yeah, gun sprite is still -1. There we go. Now it changes the order of them. So if we just wanted to move these children, we could do that. Here's the problem. The problem is moving children isn't very easy. It's sort of easy. What we have to do is we have to have the child we want to move, and we have to have the position we want to move it to. And basically its position is its number, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Since we want to rearrange it, we would want to move it to a position lower than the position of the gun sprite. Let's see. Let me think about this for a second, right? It would look something like, let's see, move, it would actually be get print, put the mic over here so we can type, get parent dot move child, move child, let's see, the var gun right equals get parent dot get. This is happening on the player sprite, right? Yes. So it will have a reference to itself, but not to the gun sprite. Get child gun sprite. Cool. So move the child that we called gun sprite to a position that we want it to. We'll just call it position right now. Well, actually, gun index, because it's an index position, right? Not a real position, like a two-dimensional one. Oops. Let me switch back to this for a second. So we have our sprite, we don't have the position, so var gun index, we want to move it to where? Let's say we want to move it in front, right? If we want to move it in front, the gun sprite should be one position lower from the player sprite. So we would check the player sprite and move it one position lower than that, which is actually higher in terms of numbers, because 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it goes from top to bottom. So the gun index is equal to we have to get our own index. Let's check this out, right? There's probably a way to do this, right? Go get child index. This is just node. Since everything, all nodes can have children, we're just looking at the page for children, or for node. So get index. Okay, we can just call that on itself. So it will be gun index equals get index. We could do self.getIndex, but this is the same thing since we're calling it on the player sprite. And we would do +1. And get parent. Oh yeah, that's a function. Get child doesn't. Oh, get child uses the index. We want to get it by name, right? So it would be get node. Yeah, I'm done. Get node gun sprite. Get index is also a function. And there we go. This code will now move the gun sprite to a position 1 higher than the player sprite. But here's the thing, we want to do both of them, right? So let's get our code back here, right? Since it was useful. This checks the flip. It checks the gun's horizontal scale, basically, I guess. And then from then we can tell if the player is facing left or right. It's not the best way of doing that, but it's the way we got. And it seems to hold up pretty well. So C index, we want to move it backwards, which in this case is a lower layer. So we could do something like this, right? We'll declare gun index, but we won't set it. And here, we'll set gun index to get index +1. Since we want to move it back, we'll do -1. And here, we'll do +1. Get rid of all this commented out stuff. And this should move our gun for us. Let's see, gun index is not declared. Yep, because this should be down here. Let's try it out. So yeah, this is a good one to test it out on. It's in the back. And it's in the front. Excellent. If you notice, I think our frame rate is a little bit slower. I hope that's not because of this. It is checking every frame. So it's not the most efficient code for this, but it does mean that it will run even when we're in editor. Since it's a tool script, it will run all the time. So now we should be able to go into here, and there we go. Another bug is fixed. Let's see, what would we call this one? Fixed bug where gun was drawn behind tile. There we go. input or whenever the player sprite is updated? That's a good point. When would we need to... we would only need to flip... yeah, actually that's really smart. When the texture is changed? The texture is the whole sprite sheet, which includes the left and right, so we wouldn't change it then. Get rid of this old code. We would change it when the V-frame is changed. When the vertical frame, so here, 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 when that gets changed, we would change the direction, right? Let's copy this code just to have it on hand. And let's go back to Juniper's states. So here's the run state, and here's all the animation within the run state. This is when it chooses to set the rotation. And you're totally right, Dade. Putting it here would be way more efficient. Let's see if we can work this in. Because now in this, if this code is running, we can guarantee a lot more things, like the fact that the gun sprite is running. The only thing that this will change is we won't be able to do it in editor, which we weren't really using anyways. Yeah. So we could check the flip. Yeah, because we're already checking the flip. Eventually I want to merge this animation code because there's some things like this gun rotation that we're always doing no matter what animation we're playing. But we'll figure out a way to do that, right? We do have an animation manager, but we're not using him. If you look at this sideboard here, we're just using him to store these dictionaries. All this code, all the work that he used to do, we're not having him do anymore. This is how we used to animate all our stuff. We'll go here and then we can clean up another day. So let's create a new function, right? Just to keep this clean. We'll do function set gun index draw index, a little more descriptive, and we'll just call this at the end. Get parent. In this case, we're going to have to give references to these things, right? Because we don't have the gun sprite, and we don't have... Actually, we might. Gun sprite, we do. Gun sprite, and we have the sprite, so... we'll just go sprite.getIndex. Gun sprite, gun index. It's already the same name. This one will just change to gun sprite. Unemployed animation manager. Maybe. So this looks all good to me, but gun index isn't declared. Right. Our gun index. Excellent. And now, let's call this here. Set, gun, draw. In fact, we could do something better, right? Watch this, right? We'll give our animation manager something to do, right? Set gun draw index. He just doesn't have references for the stuff he needs to have. That's easy fix, right? We need gun sprite and sprite. He should already have reference for these things, so we'll just draw them here. And now we can go back down to our animate code and change this to anim, because that's what we have our animations manager set for. So now all that code is out of Ron's hair, and we'll do the same thing on jump without having to add anything else. And long jump and fall. Sweet. Look at that. Thanks, Dade. Now our code should be running faster. Even if it's imperceptibly slow, that's a lot cleaner of an implementation. Yeah. So, let's see. What did we do? We clean up gun draw index code. Whatever. Oh, it's not too crazy. It just looks crazy because it's a whole labyrinth of code we got here. The whole game is a little bit of a labyrinth to kind of manage, especially when you consider how complex it can get with this kind of stuff involved too. There are bugs here that I don't even know how I would fix, so I don't really bother. Whatever. Here's a bug that I thought it was interesting. This sign, if we turn on, we can see that there's a sign here, right? Signs aren't drawn like doors. They're just made of tiles, so it's an invisible sign. And when we read it, we read nothing. But here's the thing. If we want to go back into this level, this sign should have some text on it. Let's read props. Actually, oh no, it's a trigger flavor text. Testing. We'll save that. Yeah, it's all bit by bit. I know this is the totally boring stuff, but oh, okay, that prints alright. But it's not perfect, right? Something is going on here, right? It's leaving space for the character to be saying it. And even if we look at, let's bring Kermit back, right? Everyone liked Kermit. We can just do it in editor, in our level editor. Kermit. If we talk to him, he won't have anything to say because we didn't give him a dialogue. let's see, dialog JSON, we'll open it up, it'll be village. Our conversation will be, was it just called Kermit? It's called Hermit. Let's save this. Come on. We have to reload it. Do we have to press enter? We do have to press enter. That's another bug. If you notice here too, we're leaving a space for a character sprite, but Kermit's a minor character. He wouldn't have a character sprite. He wouldn't have a face sprite. So let's do two things, right? Let's fix up the editor. Oh, also, whatever this is, right? I'm not pressing jump. I'm just pressing dialogue forward, which is the same button as jump. Okay, so we got 3 bugs on our plate right now. One is that when we're typing a string, it doesn't change the string until we press enter, which it doesn't give any indication for. So, no. I would have liked to reloaded that. Yeah, reload. Let's go to our editor first and fix that first bug. This will be on a button. This is a property button. So here is the buttons that show up whenever we select a property. It'll have a boolean, here's a color we can select. If we want to have an enumerated string, we can choose from that. But here's string, and all the code goes down here, right? Basically what we will change here is the signal to tell us when the string gets changed. Instead of text entered, which gets emitted when we press enter, we'll change it to checks changed, because what happens if they don't press enter? We still want to keep that text. And we'll just do it here. We'll actually have to change it for these 2 values too. But let's check to see if it works first. And we'll get rid of this function and this connection. Actually, this one. Connect this one back up. Cool. So now every time the text is changed, we'll update it. Let's check to see that doesn't cause any problems, right? If we change, let's actually do this real quick. We'll make him say something else, right? His conversation is null right now, which is weird, because it shouldn't be, but, oops. I deleted Kermit. Okay. It's because hold on. This is an issue, right? Game doesn't, anything regarding text is a nightmare come true. Sort of. Typing in your name, like, here's a problem we got right here. So I have it set up like Blender, right? Where if we're pressing X or we're pressing delete, it will get rid of Kermit. Problem is, now we can't type. If we wanted to type text, it just deletes him. So what should we do in this circumstance, right? We would like to do, like, add an exception. Don't delete him if we're typing something, but that's really stupid and complicated. just a little complicated. And I think, yeah, backspace also deletes him, which is a huge problem. So let's fix this first. Here's our bug. This is pretty easy to fix since this is all done in editor, we will go to editor. And it has something for this. Let me see if we can find this. Nope. It would be like key underscore x underscore x. There we go. So it checks for the key X or key backspace. We will just get rid of these X and not control held. Well, at least it doesn't do that. And we'll comment these out. So if we wanted to, if I typed it in wrong, that is, okay, we have a much larger bug on our hands here. Yeah. There are some problems here. Namely, one is that we're allowed to switch weapons here. We're allowed to do things with our keyboard when we're typing something. That is a real pain. Because like if you notice the sounds that are playing, that's our switch weapon sound. And it switches weapons, it prints the S at least, but it also unhighlights this text box, which is really annoying. I'd like to be able to type S normally. So let's see if they have something for this, right? They might just have something for this text enter to reject everything else. It's editable. And select it. Deselect unfocus lost enabled. Maybe. Right icon. No, that's just the caret. Paste clipboard. We don't really need that. Let's try getting rid of this. I would like that. And in reality, we should have that system already in place, right? That's what the disabled state is for, but I've got him change the fly state here so that we could move around, and I think we're gonna have to move to disabled. Even though that's useful, it's just really annoying. Yeah, we can move around here. We won't need to have fly anymore. When he's disabled, we can't do anything with any of the keybinds. Let's try that out. So this will be on editor. And we have a whole checklist of things to do when we get into the editor. like, we'll do that now. We'll do that, and we'll go to utility, debug hotkeys, and we'll change this because I think when we get into the editor, we change to fly mode here. Debug editor. No, actually we don't. But. Oh, I realized the janky way we did this. The editor button also serves as another fly button. That's how we did it. What a terrible way of doing that. Let's see. Debug, reload. It should be debug fly. Editor, debug print, debug reload, debug triggers. Let's look for it. Debug fly. It's in the movement manager of the player. Sure, why not? Even though we created debug hotkeys to be a script that we can turn on and off, it will be over here. This is a problem being over here, actually. We want to release a game, or we want to release a version of the game that doesn't have these debug things in it, right? And that's why we have the debug hotkeys menu, so that we can just turn that script off when we're ready to turn everything off. What it does here is painful. Really painful. So let's get rid of this. First of all, we'll get rid of this, and we'll add it back into the debug hotkeys, right? Let's see. If event is pressed, debug fly, and we'll get rid of or debug editor, because that's a really terrible idea. If the current state is states fly, we will change this to if PC. And we don't have a reference to the PC here. We don't have a reference to the player character. So we'll have to create one. And this requires the world having a player, because sometimes it doesn't. Sometimes, like, there are levels without the player, like cutscene levels. So since we have a reference to the world, it will be easy enough to get the player. So var if world dot has node Juniper, then var PC equals world dot get node. Not that one. I don't know how I copy pasted that one. No. Juniper. Then if the PC Juniper's current state, actually PC has a var for the movement manager, which controls the states. I know, it's terrible. We will pc.mm. That's probably why the code was in the movement manager, so we didn't have to pc.mm, but it really shouldn't have been. Okay. And also the fact that we changed the state back to run is really, like, actually terrible. Don't we have support for caching a state? Let's see. Why don't we use it? Current state, states. we have it in NPCs. Let's bring it into the player, because the player kind of needs it at this point. So why we're caching the state is, let's say we press a button to enter fly, right? Like we're doing now. When we exit the fly, we want to return to the state that we were in before. That might not be totally true in this case, actually, now I'm thinking about it, since we're flying somewhere else. But say we disable the player for like a second, it would be nice to enter the state that we entered in. Same for stuff like swimming. Like if we jumped into the water and swam, we would want to just hold on to that state for later use. NPCs make use of that. And I wanted something else to cache the state, so we might as well just add it now. Let's see. States, current state, and we'll add cached state. Perfect. What else? Let's go back to the debug hotkeys, right? Since these directly return the states. If the state is not flying, change the state to flying. But also we'll want to cache the state, so PC. That's a good question. Is it in the movement manager? Yes, it is. PC.mm.cached state is pc.m.current state. Cool. And when we do this, we'll just set it to the cached state instead of setting it directly to run. So if we were jumping before, we'll return jumping when we end the fly. Here we go, states. We'll have to change this to know what we're talking about. Here too. Alright, let's give it a shot. This is just flying. We fixed flying. In our attempt to fix like string editing, we fixed flying. We can fly now, and we'll return. So let's say we jumped, we flew, we will return to jumping. Sweet. Who knows if we need that, but it will just be a little bit more robust, right? Anyways. Let's fix that here. Let's see, moved fly code to debug hotkeys and fixed. Just keeping better track of all the stuff we've done. That way we know when we break something, right? So now when we enter the editor, we shouldn't be flying, we should be disabled. We are disabled, but our state isn't disabled. That's... How is our state disabled? We are disabled, and our state... Where's our state? Well, we can check it directly, right? If we go here, we go to the player. He is disabled, but that's just a bool. What is his movement manager current state? let's see. Current state is an object with the name. Cancel. Two, 6, 7, 9. Is this the same one as disabled? Current state is 2679, so he's disabled. What a roundabout way of finding that. Okay, so he's disabled, but it says he's running. That's another bug right there. I know why this is happening, or at least I have a very good suspicion, right? Because I believe his state label only updates when he's not disabled, which is kind of pointless. So let's find the state label. State label. State label.text. Yes, so this is exactly what I thought was going on. If it's debug, then the state label text will be what we want it to be. But here's the thing, we're already returning if the PC is disabled, so we'll just run this before then. Let's see. It takes longer to get into the editor now, which is kind of interesting. But sure enough, he is disabled, and we need to set it so that when he exits, he is enabled. This will be in the editor. And it's just one bit of commented code. Here we go. Actually, world isn't it's because it's W. Yep. Nice. We could even return him when he's re-enabled, return him to his pre-cache state, but let's figure that out for a second. In the meantime, what did we fix? We fixed player state label not changing on disable. What did I just say? What were we gonna fix? I already forgot. We were gonna fix something. Oh right, we want to return to that cache state. After all, we wrote it, so we might as well use it. Juniper has a function to re-enable himself, and here's where it goes, right? It just sets him back to run, because run used to be the state called normal, and it made a little bit more sense to always reset him to normal. In this case, we will just do this, right? In fact, we can even get rid of these ugly movement manager calls, and we'll just replace them with mm, since that's what we have them for. mm.cached state is equal to mm.current state. And then we'll change the states to mm.cached state. Coolio. Whatever this is, we're not worrying about it right now. So what did we do, right? We fucked something up. Our new state is null. When is this happening? He's being enabled. But we probably don't have a cached state because he was never disabled. So let's do a condition, right? If cache. It's probably because we're doing something like we're enabling him before, like, just to start with. I have no idea why, but it's an easy fix, right? If there is a cache state, which this is what this checks for, then we'll do that. But if not, then we'll change him back to the run animation, or to, let's see, what was it? Yeah, running. That would be mm.states run. And we'll do else. There we go. Okay. If you want to pop out date anytime, you're fine. Sates. Change sates. Have fun with the Lud Fermi. Let's see. The goal is just to change from disabled back to what we were doing before. So if we were jumping, disabled, we return to jumping. Nice. Kick that one off the list. Pre-cache, disabled, pre-disabled state or player. There we go. So we did a lot of bug fixing work, but we still didn't figure out all of the stuff that we wanted to do. There's still some bugs that need to be fixed. Primarily, I'm thinking about that thing with the string entering. Yeah, after that we'll do the portrait text one. This is a little bit more important because it revolves around a bunch of different things. Because not only are we changing the strings, we're changing all of these as strings, and that's gonna fuck a lot of things up if we don't fix that. It really hasn't become a problem so far because we were only entering numbers, which weren't hotkeys for other things. But if I wanted to give him an ID like Hermit, I just can't, because it's losing focus, because like a lot of these are already hotkeys for different things. Or actually, it's losing focus because it's updating, I think. Let's do a little test. Our property button string. If we disconnect this method, right? Maybe it won't kick us out every time now. Yeah, that was the problem. Okay. And since he's disabled, we're not hearing those little clicks and stuff. So that helped. But. We want to connect the signal, but we also want it to still let us type. So, there should be something for this. Let's turn this off and see if that helps. We probably already did that. Yeah, no, it doesn't. What we could do is we could change it so that we focus on the text box every time we change a character, since we're already running the signal, right? What if we did, let's see, this string dot grab focus? That should bring the focus back to the text box. It might be a little janky, but no. We have the focus, but we don't have the caret. Let's check to see if it is focused, right? And I'm not just running a function that doesn't exist. Oh, something isn't happy. I think it's Ica. Yeah, because Ica is trying to do a walk animation. She doesn't have a walk animation yet. It's throwing me all these errors. Let's see. There's nothing useful in here for us. What was I searching for? I was seeing if I could see if it was focused, but what is the problem here? Let's check to see if it is focused. We'll go here. Nope, that's not that. What is it? It's a button, right? Yeah. It'll be on editor, secondary, inspector. Oof. It'll be somewhere here. Yeah, here we go. Here's all the property buttons. And one of them will be active, right? It'll be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Each box string. This will be focused. It's all editable. Clear button enabled. No. It really doesn't have any bars that we can check to see if it's focused, does it? I know there's probably something to do that, but I don't think it's really gonna help too much. It's not a problem with it being focused, it's a problem with the carrot being there. I'm gonna check this again, right? If I put the carrot here, let's see, carrot blink is false. And if we put it here and reload it, carrot blink is still false, so that's not telling us if it's selected. How about we just look up the documentation? That would be a lot easier. Let's see. It has some cool options. I'll give it that. It should be something up here. Align, editable, secret. Let's see when it's editable. Text cannot be modified. That's just to kind of disable it. Focus mode. That's... Oh, thanks. I don't know. I guess maybe I'm just tired. I got to bed this morning, but I was up at 6 to send Ash off. He on the other hand is so fucking tired. Oh. I think he's been trying to crash for a bit and hasn't been able to. He's got the day off, so he deserves to. Selection, get selection. Oh dear. What this is some whole BS over here. It's storing like which characters are selected in it. Oh my god. This is a whole can of worms I don't know if I want to get into. Tell you what, right? We know why it's doing what it's doing. Let's see. We know sort of why it's doing what it's doing. So let's just change it back to only on enter. It's a really terrible way of doing things, but we'll make it play a sound on enter or something to let you know that you actually changed it. I feel so bad for doing that, but that's like our current solution. Yeah, I think that is what we can currently do. That's what they intended you to do anyways. Let's see. We'll do something. We could also... deselect it? Let's see. Godot deselect UI element. It would be control. We're looking, because there's multiple ways to select things. The way we're looking for is to deselect it. Line edit remains in typing mode because it still has keyboard focus. To remove keyboard focus, you have to focus another control. This is what we want to do. Kind of shouldn't it? This is way back in 2019, but hey. Oh my god, what is this? Ugh. And it works. Put spaces in your code, for God's sake. I can't read this. Whatever this guy is trying to say, I cannot read this. Gur and X. Gur equals global rect. Fuck. Oh my god, he's trying to select. Because you can only exit focus when you enter another focus, he's creating a whole fucking box that extends everything for you to click to release the focus of the text box. That is so fucking bullshit. No, and that's why they created a function for it. Look, release focus. Let's see if that works. It would be this string dot piece focus. It's, thank you, Godot. Thank you for making that a function. Now it'll do something like this, right? Commit. And when we press enter, we get rid of the caret. It's just a little bit better. We'll play a sound too, right? What sounds should we play? Just like the save sound, right? But something a little bit different. UI accept. That sounds like the thing we kind of want. We'll call audio manager dot play, and we'll give it the string UI accept. We'll also do this on the other ones, but yeah, why don't just play them on all of them? I'm sure this won't be a problem, especially on the color changing, when the color changes as you drag the cursor. Well, it tells you it accurately, at least. Let's see. I don't like that. It looks like these functions are getting called on a different time. We're not entering any of these things, but they're still getting called. Why? Well, we can isolate, right? we can check to see which one is actually playing. So it wasn't the string. That is pretty good. Now we know when we change the value. Kermit. But that is the same save sound. But doesn't... Reload. Doesn't Cave Story have a built-in save sound, like a custom one? I thought it did. Let's take a look here, right? Laputa, assets. Sound effect, placeholder, sound. Does it have one? Or does it just play the accept sound when you save? It doesn't matter too much either way. I'm just looking for... Save sound is the refill sound. Okay. Let's give that one a try then. We'll create a save sound. So, let's see, PC.save. I just have it as menu select, but we'll change that to, let's see, get heart tank. Is there a refill sound? HP health refill. There we go. Let's try that one. It works. So whenever we Control S save the level, we'll do that, and whenever we change a value, it will do that. Yeah, as long as they're different. Yeah, so that applies to all of these, but one. Let's see, we fixed this, right? We changed added sound on string enter in editor. The next bug was the face one, right? Kermit is floating right now. It's okay. So here's the problem, right? That's not good. Invalid index Kermit on base dictionary. Oh right, because the file, the conversation is named Hermit, right? I would like to exit out of that in a little bit better of a way. Like if it doesn't find the dialogue, then do something else, but I'm not sure what would be better. We kind of do need it to crash, because then we'll just keep playing the wrong animation, or we'll keep playing the wrong dialogue. Or the right dialogue won't even play. here's the thing, right? Here's your modus operandi. I don't know. When something not going right is very hard to tell, you want to have it to crash. So like if the XP didn't spawn, right, and it was supposed to spawn, then have it crash. Because having it crash will let you know that there's a problem. If a single XP doesn't spawn, you don't realize that there's a problem going on. Here, on the other hand, since dialogue not playing is really obvious, we really don't need it to crash. We should have maybe some placeholder text to play instead of that, right? Like error text not found or conversation not found. You could literally say that, right? Anyways, in the meantime, I didn't enter that, so it doesn't count. This. We should fix this. And also, I think we used to have the name be in red or something like that. Not sure what happened to that. Could be something really funny at Gkachi. Yeah. Just something to let you know that something's going wrong. Let's create something like that. You guys can pick whatever the dialogue is. Let's see. Conversation to print. Our whole dialogue system is very clusterfucky. But we'll fix this, right? Start printing. Oh god, we're not even saving conversation, are we? Hold on. This is why this is really fucky, because we'll control F conversation, and it's got 5 matches, okay. But we're using a different var. We're using the var conversation to print, which is passed to it from the NPC by calling this function, right? But it already has a built-in var called conversation, which does absolutely nothing. Let's check the var text to see what it does. Whole words, match case. It does do something. Right. Dialogue. It does do something. But here's the thing, we don't need it as a global var because it only takes place in that one function, right? So here's what we do to clean things up. We just declare it within the function, right? We can literally do there. It's so pointless otherwise. I think it's because this was written very, very early on. Back when we were still using like cave story assets, this was written. One sec. Getting a little bit late. How much progress do we have? Oh, we're only an hour and 44 minutes in. Not too bad. Let's get that. what do we want to do? We want to print some garbo if it can't find the conversation. It doesn't actually have anything referencing the conversation. It's just conversation to print, right? There we go. What a weird thing. We'll just say conversation. Text is equal to dialogue, conversation, strip edges, replace. That's our whole cleanup process. But let's say conversation, let's say dialogue conversation is null. Right. If that returns, if not, then we will print text that's something else. Text equals placeholder text. Countless bugs, more like 7. There's so many more in this game, but making good progress. Conversation, here we go. If we can't find the conversation, we'll set it to a custom placeholder text, right? We actually want this text to reference the fact that we have a null conversation, right? Like, hey dummy, you forgot to add a conversation. That way I'll know exactly what's going wrong. Or like the conversation isn't right. So let's just write it here, right? I was gonna write it up top, but text is, hey dummy, there's no conversation with the name plus conversation. Let's try that one out. And then else our text is normal. Not like that. Tan. What was that? No. And print text, that's a little useless. Just prints it to the console. We don't really need that. Anyways. Hey Kermit. Cool. Let's change your dialogue to something that doesn't exist. Like Frodo. It crashes because there's no index Frodo on base dictionary. So instead of doing this, we'll check if dialogue is a dictionary. So we'll check if dialogue has key. This is checking to see if it has the value in it, right? Then it's null. No, wait. Has key isn't real? What am I thinking of then? Go dictionary. Is it just has? Yeah, it has. believe he's still Frodo. Let's check. No. Enter, save. It's annoying. We'll fix that. Sweet. We did it. The last thing I want to check on this regard is what happens if we don't enter anything, right? Accidentally move that entity. Yep, he just doesn't talk if there's nothing. So this is another W. Let's mark this one off our list. So, added place holder text if there's no conversation. If for null conversation. For conversation not found. Yeah. Last thing, well, last bug that we had lined up on our list was fixing the alignment, right? Let's change him back to Kermit. Although we can see the same thing happens with the placeholder text, right? If he is Kermit, which that is interesting, he's back to null. Is that another bug? Yeah, we can't talk to him. That's rubbing me the wrong way. Maybe I just didn't save it? Anyways, we'll check to see if he's still Kermit. There's no conversation with the name Kermit. Dumbass. How about we just... I'm sick of making this mistake, so how about we just actually change this? Now there is a conversation with the name Kermit. There we go. So we still have this alignment here. And we also jump after we progress text. That's the other bug I want to fix, right? So this is something to do with the dialogue box. Let me switch up our music. This lo-fi channel is really not that great. There we go. Our dialog box and where to orient it. We have a function for this, and I noticed this. I noticed this already, right? Align box. This, I'm pretty sure, aligns the face sprite. Oh god, we even have a function for flipping the face sprite. Okay. What does align box do? We get the viewport size. Oh, we wrote this on stream, didn't we? This is the one that flips it up or down. That aligns the entire text box. We want something that aligns the layout of the text box. I guess you could call it the... Let's see. Text. What do you call it? Kerning? Not really. justify, right? It's the justification of the text. If it's centered, if it's left. Yeah. So let's create a function to change the justification of the text. Function justify text. We can have a couple of different settings for this, right? And we'll actually do justification as a string. We'll match justification. A long word. If the justification is with face, or if it's no face, we'll just change this to face. Then we'll pass. If there is no face, we will, what will we do? To guarantee that this text box is justified properly, all we really have to do is get rid of this. But we'll see how this looks, right? It might look better if it does have a little bit of squish room off to the side still. Because it's a little too far left, right? It might even look good if we justify its center, right? But we'll cross that when we get there, right? I think that's why I left the face sprite in the end. I left the face sprite because it created a nice little buffer for the text. But now it just looks a little out of place. Anyways. We will, if there isn't a face, we will turn the face off. That's all we really need to do. This margin hbox face dot visible equals false. And if there is a face, it's true. But we can just do something real quick, can't we? We'll add a control node, but this one will be, we'll just call it no face spacer. We'll change it to be at the top. The size of it will be 32? Maybe a little less. 16? That looks pretty alright. We'll see how it looks in game. And we'll just do this, right? We're not really changing the justification. We're just kind of pretending to. So now we need to call this, and we need to call it with a function. So how about we do it when we start printing? We'll add, we used to have a justification, but justification. And we will we'll do it here. We will justify text justification. Just so we know, justification is a string. it sort of helps, even though all this stuff is just a little redundant. It sort of helps just to remember what these things are. We need the NPC to pass a justification now. And also, here's what we can do. We can set the default justification, right? We can set it equal to no face, right? This is a really huge thing that I wish I knew a lot earlier on in microprogramming career, question mark. In my experience with Godot, I wish I knew it earlier. Because it's very useful to just set default values. We'll have the NPCs set it to the face justification, right? Dialog box connect get node. Dialog box start printing, and we'll have them start printing with the. Here's the thing. Bar justification equals face, and we'll set it here. The reason why I'm doing this instead of setting it just a face is because some NPCs won't have a face. Yeah. Let's check. Has face. We already have a variable for it. Excellent. Let's see if we can use this variable, right? If not has face, we'll actually just set to default to no face. The whole var that they have a face is kind of iffy too. We can kind of change that. It should be, because they don't have the face directly. They have, it searches through the file directory and tries to find a face sprite with the same name as the character. So we're not directly setting the face sprite per NPC like we might want to. It's a little harder to pass that information on because the person who needs that information is the dialog box, right? Not the NPC. In any case, if not has face, we'll just set it to no justification. Justification equals no face. Let's see what Kermit, what his value is. Kermit does not have a face. Nice. But can we change has face? We can. We really shouldn't need to. If anything, we should be able to like set what the face sprite is, right? This is kind of weird and pointless, but we'll fix that. That'll be our next bug. In any case, we fix this one. Added justify options for text box printing. You can look at the sign too. Oh, that sign does have a face. Oof. That is weird. Testing. I think I want to fix that one first. Why would this sign have a face? The default value for our text box is, or the default justify is no face, right? Dialog box. Justify no face. Love you, Dade. Go get some sleep for me. Hang out with Blood. Thanks for showing up. I will. Thanks for encouraging me to do the stream tonight, right? Actually, pretty useful getting back into things too. But you have a good one. I'll stay up a little bit longer. Get some of this more stuff done. Yeah. Let's see. Let's check to see how we're doing this, right? This is actually a trigger, the sign, and that's called flavor text. And we aren't really passing anything like has face, so if we look here, print flavor. Oh, it's using a completely different function. Oh, that's why. It's using the function print flavor text, which doesn't do all the things that we want it to do. That's why. It doesn't even align the box. Yeah, that is probably not the best, but we'll just add these in for now. Didn't realize that they weren't justifying, or they weren't aligning properly either. Print flavor text. Justification is a string with the default value being no face. There we go. This is a little redundant. We can actually, what we can do is use this, which sets the type of the value equal to the value's type, which is just basically a way to make it read a little bit shorter. If you're telling me the default value is a string, well, all values should be strings, is what it says. There's Kermit. And there is the text box. Sweet. So what did we do? We fixed alignment and justification on flavor text. 10 bugs. Let's see. The next thing I wanted to do, what was it? It's the jumping after we're done with this. That's just annoying. We're disabled, so we really shouldn't be storing up any jump inputs, but it's just the last one. The last one to end the text causes us to jump. So how should we get out of this, right? And in fact, we're in the disabled state, right? We're not in the... We had a whole thing for this, didn't we? How about this? We'll create a new state, because we really shouldn't be disabled when we're reading text, right? We should be in a state that's similar to being disabled, but it plays the animation. And it also allows us to do anything else we want to do while reading a sign or talking to a person. We shouldn't be fully disabled. what should we call this? I believe we have a bool in the player called is inspecting. Let's search for that. Inspecting. Oh no, yeah, we just have a var called inspecting. That really should be a state. Let's change that to a state. So here's how we'll do it, right? Disabled has a state. Let's copy paste it. Copy the node. Nope. Duplicate. Inspect, we'll call it. And we'll add a new script. I basically want to copy the script from the other one. But it's going to be a little bit different, right? I think some of our stuff relies on being disabled as the bool, which is going to be weird. We might be disabled and inspecting is what might happen. It's kind of iffy. I don't know how I feel about that. In the meantime, let's just fix the stuff that we broke with Animation Manager, right? Since we had animations for inspecting, but it played when the bool inspecting was flipped. Let's check. Here we go. That's just about it. And we have copies of it for direction lock. Oh, how terrible this fucking code was. Not that our new stuff is too much better, but at least it's like not 3 times redundant. Let's see, animate. I want to copy the animation from run, because why not? We could even make flying an animation, or just like have him stand still, right? That would be just a quality of life kind of thing. In any case, what do we want to do? We want to do all of this kind of stuff, but we'll get rid of anything we don't need, right? Animation is a string. We don't need any of these. The animation will always be did we get rid of it? Yeah, we got rid of it. Oops. It'll either be reverse idle or stand. Okay, that's interesting. Oh no, that's if inspecting isn't true. It will always be reverse idle. Let's update that animation real quick. How about that? It's a really simple one, so we should be able to do that pretty easily. Yeah, it's only a couple of frames. We don't even have a That's interesting. We don't even have a sprite sheet for it, or a file. We can do this, right? We can file import sprite sheet. Import? Nope. I've never used this before. 32, import. That helps. File. By rows, vertical strip, by columns. Oh, it did have everything. It was just doing it as 2 stacks for some reason. New layer. Here we go. So there's that direction, and really we should be able to reverse it, honestly. We had a little bit of weight on this animation, but we still have those animations. We still have the animation data that we can look back at. In any case, let's go ahead and just fix this up and update it to the new palette, right? We'll save this as reverse. What should we call it? We'll call it inspect, right? Inspect new. And we'll make it an A sprite. We will load a palette. Sweet. Sprite color mode indexed. Excellent. Organization. Okay, so this has a lot of weird things going on. This is probably one of the weirder sprites I've made. But it looks alright. It's just a little out of style. So let's fix that. A lot of things that we need to fix about this are just the shading, honestly. It's got, look how much shading it's got on this. You don't see any of that. So we'll block it down to normal colors. And we'll also change his pants. Something like that. See, it's all these weird shading. I'm not sure how to feel about it. That was a highlight. Give him butt highlights, I guess. For his tushy. Yep, that looks fine. We'll just knock you down to a single color. And why not bring this up to a brighter color, right? We can actually have this be this color, maybe, and then this will be this color. Then we can have it fade into this or something. That looks a little weird. Yeah. So instead of all that shading, we just have solid block colors now that tell us how close things are to the screen, or how visually important they are. A little bit of both. I would do that. Actually, that does look fine. And then this is in the middle between those two colors. No, it's not. Yeah. How about this? The shadow is a little weird. I get what I was trying to go for, but maybe we don't do that. It's not like you can really see it too much, and it will look weird on different palettes. Hey there, how's it going? Just streaming a little bit of art. It's Chris, right? One of your alts. Let's see. These are sleeves. We'll knock you down to this color. We can kind of keep the shadow. Honestly, it's not that bad. We will change everything else, right? If this leg is darker, then this should be darker. I don't know if I totally want to use these colors, but it gives us a little bit better sense of depth. Sort of. By the way, is this the same? Is this the right height? I'm not sure if this is all the right height that he should be at. Let's measure that. It's 8 pixels. Oh, I think we measured this based off the stand animation as being 7 pixels tall, because he's leaning. But if we open stand new, this leg is pretty straight and he's 7 pixels. It is just a little bit weird to see him that tall. Just a tiny bit. Yeah. Oh yeah, we should move to a single monitor. There we go. So, I don't know, how about that 3D effect? In reality, I was thinking like the leg kind of comes down there. I don't really want to give his butt like volume or anything. That's not what I was trying to do. Just trying to make this seem a little bit more less boxy. anything I do just makes it look like it's made out of different material. I go here, then here, it's fine. It looks like he's wearing like underwear or something. Just a tiny bit. What did I have going on over here? It was just completely flat. I could do completely flat. That assumes that these two legs are basically standing the same depth from the camera, since we're using the darkness to illustrate depth, right? We could tone down that depth. They are just a little bit farther from the camera on that side, but not too much. I'm just gonna go with the dumpy, I think. It looks fine. When his pants are black, it'll look fine, is my theory. Because then it'll be like this. Yeah. Right now it just looks a little funky. I'm doing too much, aren't I? What a ugly shading. I should just do this. Yep. In the meantime, we'll get rid of all the other stuff, right? I'm just cleaning the sprite up for the shading because the sprite is so small, you're gonna be seeing it like this big, that the shading doesn't really matter. It just adds a lot of visual noise that we don't need. Plus, it's easier to make sprites without shading, or without a lot of shading. I'm also changing, the reason why I'm changing his pants color, or his shorts, is because we have a individually, like, we can change his palette, right? And if we have his shorts being a different color from his shirt, then we can change his shirt color and his short color. We can change them independently of one another. Makes all sprites basically recolorable. So it's super neat if I ever want to change his color for fun, or for like he doesn't really show up against this background, then I can just do it. We have something in game already to take care of that. In any case, what else have we got this animation? Let's do the little antenna, because I'm pretty sure it's just this and that, and we'll do this. It's a little weird because they're behind him. Now, is his back arching, or is this just shading that I added here? If his back's arching, it would look like... Oh, I don't think I even decided on that. I think I just kind of went with whatever. This is very fast. His back arching looks weird. Let's change this back to just straight up, right? I like the back arch just a little bit, but not enough to keep it. I believe it was on this frame, right? It adds a little bit of depth, but only a little bit. It's that kind of stand, right? So maybe we should have it show up progressively and then get rid of it progressively. Yeah. Yeah, it works. Glad we don't have to go too hard into shading anymore, because boy is that a pain to try and figure out. Larger sprites, absolutely, I will shade them. This is baby sprites. This is, even this little icon here is way bigger than it will appear on screen. He's only 32 pixels, not even, he's just like over 24. So, don't even bother with that stuff. Anyways, here's our new animation. Looks pretty alright. Just need to fix up a little bit of whatever is going on here with the back and its shading. And the pants aren't the best. I could fix that. Do I care to? Maybe not. Oh, right. We should be able to flip the sprite completely, right? So let's get rid of this shading. As nice as it looks, it's not that useful. Yeah. And we can even give him a little bit of that color, maybe? Have it show up from the back. What if we did that? Yeah, it looks fine. He's stuffed into his little sweater. Do you like that these are totally offset? That's a little annoying, isn't it? Yeah. So I think that's mostly everything we want with this. To flip it, right, here's the old animation, just for reference. Here's the new animation. Is his hands, are his hands all good? Just one more thing to check, right? His hands are probably the wrong colors. No? No, they're the right colors, okay. Then we're all good to go. Let's duplicate this sprite, call it right, and we'll flip it. Flip horizontal. Excellent. And since we don't have that shading, we don't have to worry about the global lighting, right? We'll just say whatever is farther back is shaded darker. Screw all the rest. That's how it really should be. Anyways, let's export these. Left. Nope, that's the wrong way around. There we go, left and right. And that looks good. Excellent. Let's get that sprite sheet in here. Coolio. Now here comes the hard part. Getting the inspect animation to run. Oh, let's create the inspect animation first. To do that, we'll have to reference the old inspect animation because it has some funky timing. Specifically, we have our old player. Reverse idle is what it was called. So, yeah, geez, that is some funky timing. It's an animation that lasts 1.6 seconds, so we will go and fix that, right? We'll go and make that. Just inspect. 1.6. We have our texture, which will change to our new texture. We have our frames. Instead of doing a continuous frame like this, we'll set them to individual frames. We'll keyframe every frame. So, where's our old one? Here he is. Is he even? Oh dear. He's somewhere in here. I just need to close a couple of tabs. Here we go. Shove them right up together. So, frame 0, frame 1, frame 2, frame 3. We'll just do the same. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And this frame 1 happens at 5, 7, 8, 5, 7, 9, 12, 14. 5, 7, 9, 12, 14, 3, 4, 5. Let's see how this animation looks. If we can view it. It's not bad. It's pretty much how we wanted it. in this animation, it's going to be interesting because we don't want to show his gun at all, actually. So we'll have to write something custom for that, since this animation doesn't really tell him not to show the gun. We'll have to have that be something that happens in the inspect state. Anyways, let's get this code working, right? Our animation when we're inspecting will always be, it will always be inspect. So get rid of all this. If it's not playing or the current animation isn't our new animation, then play the new animation and play it at speed 1. V-frame, this will flip our sprite. Here's the thing though, we don't really need to flip the gun sprite because we don't even want to see it at all. So we'll get rid of that. All of this revolves around the gun rotating. AP isn't, oh shoot, we have to do a couple of things. We have to declare a couple of variables up top. All good. There we go. And right. Basically just change the V-frame. Here we'll just change it to 1 because we only have two rows. And that's what the vertical frame is, right? So if it's 0, we'll choose the first row, and if it's 1, we'll choose the second row. Set gun draw index. We really don't need to do this anymore because we're not looking at the gun. We don't even need to set the gun sprite. We just need to set the frame chords.y. That's all good then. We just need to write something to hide the gun sprite, right? So what will we write? Oh, we already have, if we look down here and I get out of the way, right? We have something called enter, right? And enter basically gets called whenever the function gets entered. So we can go ahead and call it on enter. We will, what will we do? Oh, we'll just gun sprite. Since we already have a reference to it, we can just say visible equals false. And when we exit the state, we can make it visible again. Just that easy. Sweet. So that's all we really need to do. Yes. So here's the trouble, right? We got rid of the variable inspecting and we replaced it with a state called inspect. Now all of our code is angry that we don't have a variable called inspecting. Apparently I was frustrated with why we had a variable called inspecting way back when, so it makes sense. Let's see. If not disabled, here's what happens, right? If we're inspecting, then any of these motions makes us stop inspecting. So let's check for, instead of it checking for inspecting, we'll check for the state. So pc.movementManager dot current state, active state, I think it's current state equals pc.mm.states, and it would be inspect. Yes. We'll check if it's equal to, not set it. Then we will change states to the cached state, right? We'll cache a state when we enter inspect. Let's see, PC dot. We can even do this like this, right? When we enter pc.mm.cached state. Actually, we can't do it from there, but we can do it before we change the state, right? Yes. Let's finish this up first, right? What did we break? Yes, we broke it here. mm.change state. Change state to the PC movement managers cached state. Yeah, so if any of these things is true, then we change the state back to the state that it was previously. Really, honestly, we should be checking for this in inspect, because that's why we have a state, right? We'll do it this way, right? Function input input event if event is action. Yes. Cool. That all works. We gotta remember the to animate. That will animate after we do everything, right? I'm pretty sure that's how we have it done, right? After we change our velocity, we animate. Not that it matters too much, but it helps to keep things consistent. Anyways. Cool. We don't have that function anymore, so great. And we crash again. So what else is looking for? Our cache state is not entering because we never set a cache state. So when we change to inspect, right? Inspect. When do we change to the state inspect? We never do. Then why does this happen? No, we are changing to inspect, right? Why are we changing to expect? Like, right? This shouldn't even be called because, right? It's almost as if we start inspecting. That would be a weird thing. Print. Blah, blah, blah. Every time we get an input now, right? If we were inspecting, it should print. Oh dear. So why are we inspecting? We really aren't. This isn't relevant anymore. That's from the debug debug menu, debug info. We'll get rid of that. Since that's not really relevant anymore. Okay. Also, I'm really surprised. Is state not a thing on here? I guess we know his state from the text above his head, but weird. We have like the pseudo states here, but not the real ones. So we're still printing all this, which tells me that the code for inspect is running when it really shouldn't be, because we're not inspecting, right? The only thing I could think of is if the way we're running the code, it just runs the input events and everything at the same time. So let's test that. Print a different string. We'll print a bunch of numbers. That would be the only other reason. If it prints both of these things, it does. That is weird. I don't like that. So we can't have the input events because it's always gonna, oh, of course it's always gonna run it, right? Because we don't have anything to check to make sure the state is actually enabled. Okay. It's just running because it's a script and it likes to run. Because it's there. I'm not making any sense, am I? We need to either change this to check to see if these things are input, or we could gatekeep the input with the var. Either way, it's gonna do the same thing. So I think this is easier, right? We'll just check for the input every frame. It's not that hard to check for input every frame, so I don't really worry about the lag, if it's gonna cause lag. Let's see. So if input event is action, let's see. Is action pressed? Can only be called from an instance. If how to do that, right? I should know how to do this. In fact, let me just input event amount key. Yes. Are these any of these are running in process? No, these are running in input. I remember there's a way to run it in process. without checking for input. We can do unhandled input. No, I don't want that. If input, okay, it's just input. Where are we going now? It was here. And we wanted to move it over here, so input, yeah. If input is action pressed, yeah. Cool. And we'll get rid of this input event. So because this state process only runs when the state is active, we can make sure that this input event doesn't run when the state isn't, right? And it will get us another bug probably, but I guess not. PC inspecting. Here is where we need to change the state. So we'll do pc.movementmanager.change state, and we'll change it equal to pc.movementmanager.states bracket parenthesis whatever inspect, right? Oh, also we need to cache the state, I forgot. So we'll do pc.movementmanager.cached state equal to pc.movementmanager.dates. And I should have a function for all this stuff, like function to cache. It's just easier. It looks ugly, but whatever. Let's see, current state. So there we go. We're inspecting. All right. So we're not doing the animation, which is but we are inspecting and we are in the current state. We are in the right state. Let's see. It also crashes when this doesn't work. Right. So instead of changing the inspecting, we'll just go back to the cache state. That's what we cached it for. pc.movementmanager.change state equal to pc.movementmanager.cached state. Excellent, right? What else? God, this is kind of annoying. It looks like we said it multiple times. We really just want to replace that with something that looks like this. But better that we fix it now. Also, it's gonna be weird because disable is also being pressed here. So that means we'll change the disabled state and then we'll change to the inspect state. Let's get rid of that. That's gonna cause problems if we disable the player. We'll just change to inspecting instead. Because if we're disabled, then the cache state will always be disabled, which will basically freeze the game. Look, he's doing the animation! No he isn't. But I kind of told him to stop reading when he presses A. which wasn't my brightest idea. I really don't know why I did that. But this is interesting. We can... I think this is a problem, right? When we're inspecting, we still have the get move velocity of walking. So we need to change this function. Let's see. Yep. This is weird. What? Didn't I copy this from? I did. I copied this from disabled, but apparently disabled still lets us walk. It still does the calculations for it. It just doesn't let us accept input. That is very interesting. Well, either way. We basically need the player not to move, but we still need the player to obey gravity. So that if they talk to somebody and then they get hit or something, it would be better if they obeyed gravity, I'm thinking. They're already invincible, so it's not like that can happen, but if you were to, like, well, inspect something in the air, you should fall to the ground. There's all these weird edge cases like that. And our code will be more robust if we let that happen, right? So let's take a look at what we have, right? Our velocity is get move velocity. This is kind of redundant. I think I get rid of this in new versions. And also, I think I get rid of this too. Instead of putting that in, we'll just do dot velocity, right? We were already passing that, and it's kind of pointless too. This is our gravity. This is our friction, right? This is basically saying if they're on the floor, then do friction, otherwise do air friction, right? Air friction is 0 here, so it doesn't really do anything, but if we changed air friction, it would do something. We actually do change air friction when we get into water. It makes it feel like water physics, right? Like you're wading through something slowly. And this is to clamp the velocity to 0, right? So if we're moving really close to 0 already, just have us move to 0, because there's no point in keeping us running, and it can cause problems like, are you standing still, or are you standing almost still, right? Anyways, that really doesn't do anything. I want to get rid of this because that was a weird experiment. I'm not sure what that was from. I just kind of copied it over. Now we're stuck when we're inspecting. Yeah. But we still do the jump after we're done inspecting. So one bug was fixed, but the other one isn't. Let's just make sure these animations play properly. And the sign over here. Yeah. Cool. So what did we fix? Fixed inspecting, or we added inspect state moved. Inspecting. Cool. Cool. What do we need to fix? We need to fix like one more thing. It's always one more thing, but we had this on the docket for a bit. Right? It's this jump after we're done talking that I don't like. Basically, it's gonna be really hard to like isolate that condition because when he's done talking, right? Let's see. When he's done talking, we're still in the inspect state, right? And that's when the jump happens. So can we say that if we're inspecting, just don't jump? I thought that's what we were already doing. I believe jump happens in the movement manager, right? Yes. Yep. So can we just say if PC dot or if current state equals states, not like that, I don't want that. What was it? Inspect. We will turn. Means we just won't jump. And we will check equal to instead of set. We still jump. How about we do this? We kind of have a good idea already, but let's print current state. That thing? Because current state is actually a node, so it's going to be a little weird. So, what we got? Run. And the one that happened before was also run. So the problem isn't that simple. We are changing to the run state, and we are jumping as we change to the run state. What I'm thinking is maybe our jump is being called in a weird time, right? We'll get rid of this because we're not really using that. When does jump get called? It doesn't get jump called here. It does get called when we're in the run. But it should be just pressed, right? It should be is action just pressed. Let's try is action pressed. Because it should check for the button down, not the button held, right? Because if we do is button pressed, right? It's checking for the button held and it jumps as it enters the state. I'm just holding the button now. If we change it to just pressed, it checks for the button down. This is tricky, right? That means that the button down happens while we're in the state of while we're in the run state. Maybe we can wait a frame? Something's weird. Let's check how to see how do we exit the runs, or exit the inspect state, right? Inspect. Dialog box changes our state. It changes it to the cached state. Here we go. We're enabling the player. We don't really need to. Because we're not disabling him anymore. We're also... When are we calling exit? Nope. We're calling exit when we press the button and we've already reached the end of the text, right? That's like the only condition when we exit. The only thing I can think to do is to yield a little bit after we finish. To change the state, but then like, oh, it doesn't hurt to try it. Yield, get tree, comma, idle, frame. If we do this, there we go. It's a little awkward. You can kind of see the frame that we yield on, but we don't jump now. Maybe it would be less awkward if we didn't have the debug on, maybe? Or is it the animation that's awkward? Anyways. It's also weird because we returned to the pre-cache state, which, what if the pre-cache state was jumping? Then we have another problem. So we should always change to run, honestly. And I'll include a little note here that we actually do want to change to run. looks like that's another bug fixed. Probably our last one for tonight. Fixed player jumping after finishing dialogue. Hinata's eyebrows are all weird. I'll have to look into that next time. It's like it goes between angry and like a little bit too fast. Maybe it just doesn't have a good view of my eyebrows. Either way, we fixed a ton of bugs today. I'm super happy. A lot of quality of life stuff that was just really annoying. We also, before the stream, we fixed a lot of these animations, which was the major thing from last stream. We imported a bunch of new animations and now we've got them fixed. We also have this inspect state now, since that was broken too. Alright, I think I'm gonna call it there. We got that much done. Let's check, right? We got 12 bugs. Let's go ahead and push that. That's a lot of work for 3 hours. And some pretty thorough work, if you don't mind me saying, right? I don't think those ones will be coming up anytime soon. Alright. Thanks for watching, everyone. If you are, I hope you have a beautiful day. Okay? Bye-bye.